All right, get ready to dive deep today, folks, because we're tackling the mind of Chris Langan.
Oh, this is going to be good.
Yeah, we had so many requests to really break down his ideas.
Oh, it's fascinating stuff.
It really is. I mean, we're talking about the guy who's been called one of the most intelligent people alive.
Right, off the charts IQ scores.
Yeah, but instead of, I don't know, becoming a top scientist or professor or something,
Yeah, you'd think, wouldn't you?
he chose a totally different path.
Yeah, he did. Bouncing in New York City bars.
Right. Can you imagine this incredibly brilliant mind?
I mean, what a story.
It really makes you wonder.
About what, like, how we define intelligence.
Exactly. Is it just about test scores? Or is there something more to it?
Yeah, well, in Langan's case, he definitely didn't follow the traditional route.
Not at all. And in this interview on CTMU radio, he really opens up about his experiences.
It's goldmine of insights.
It is. And one of the things that really stood out to me was his talk about butting heads with the academic system.
Oh yeah, he didn't hold back.
Not one bit. Like, he even shared this anecdote about challenging a math professor in college.
Oh wow, what happened?
Well, the professor basically dismissed him.
No way.
Yeah, said something like he didn't have the mental firepower to be a mathematician.
You're kidding me.
I know, right? It just shows you how sometimes even brilliant minds—
Don't fit in.
Exactly. They don't fit neatly into these predetermined boxes.
And they end up getting overlooked.
Or even pushed aside, which is kind of tragic when you think about it.
It is. It's a loss for everyone, really.
Absolutely, because
Yeah.
who knows what amazing discoveries we're missing out on.
Right, just because someone doesn't fit the mold.
But what's incredible is that Langan never stopped learning, even after he left college.
Yeah, he's a self-taught polymath, isn't he?
Totally.
Yeah.
He talks about spending hours in libraries, bookstores, just absorbing knowledge.
Across all these different fields.
Right. Physics, philosophy, math, linguistics, you name it.
I mean, the guy's like a walking encyclopedia.
And it was during this period of intense self-study that he started developing his own theory of everything.
The famous CTMU, right? Cognitive Theoretic Model of the Universe.
Yeah, that's the one. It's pretty mind-blowing stuff.
Well, the name itself is kind of intimidating.
I know, right? But basically, he's trying to explain how everything fits together.
The whole universe, like how did it come to be? What are the underlying principles?
Exactly. And his approach is really unique.
Yeah, he brings together ideas from all these different disciplines.
Right, like he's weaving together a tapestry of knowledge from physics and logic to language and even consciousness.
It's ambitious, to say the least.
It is, but that's what makes it so fascinating.
So how does it work? Does he have like an equation for the universe or something?
Well, one of the key concepts is this idea that reality is a self-simulation.
Wait, a self-simulation? Like, what does that even mean?
Okay, so think of it like this.
Okay, I'm listening.
Imagine a computer program so advanced that it creates its own reality.
Oh, like in the Matrix.
Exactly. But instead of being plugged into a computer, Langan argues that the universe itself
Is the program.
is the program, and we're all part of it.
Whoa, hold on. So you're saying reality isn't real?
Well, it's real in the sense that we experience it,
Right.
but the nature of that reality might be different than we typically assume.
Like we're all just characters in some cosmic video game?
Kinda, yeah. But we're also active participants, shaping and reshaping that reality with every thought and action.
Wow, that's heavy stuff.
It is, and it gets even more mind-bending when he starts talking about God.
Oh yeah, Langan's views on God are, let's just say, unique.
They are, but they're also deeply rooted in his understanding of the CTMU.
Okay, so connect the dots for me.
So, if reality is a self-simulation,
Mm-hmm.
then who or what created the simulation?
Good point.
Langan argues that the creator is God.
And he says you can prove this logically.
Exactly. He sees the properties of reality itself as evidence for God's existence.
Like how so?
Well, he points to things like the laws of physics, the fact that there's order and structure to the universe,
Right.
and the very existence of consciousness itself.
Okay, I'm following.
He sees these as signs of an intelligence that transcends our own.
So God is like the ultimate programmer.
In a sense, yes, but it's not like a distant, hands-off programmer.
Aye.
Langan believes that God is intimately involved in the universe.
Okay, so how does that work?
He even makes this fascinating connection to the book of Exodus.
Oh, where God says, I am that I am?
Exactly. Langan interprets this as God defining himself as the ultimate identity.
So God is the source code of reality.
That's a pretty good way to put it. And he goes on to say that this understanding of God—
Changes everything.
It does, because if God is the ground of being, the foundation of reality—
Then our choices have real consequences.
Exactly. Our actions matter, not just in this life.
But in the grand scheme of things.
Exactly. And this leads to some really interesting discussions about free will, destiny, and even the nature of heaven and hell.
Whoa, okay, I think we need to take a breath here.
I know, right? This is just scratching the surface of Langan's ideas.
My brain is already starting to hurt.
But in a good way, right? It's like a mental workout.
I guess so, yeah. It definitely makes you think.
And that's what we're here for.
To challenge our assumptions and expand our understanding of the world.
And who better to guide us on that journey than Chris Langan, right?
Right, the guy who sees reality as a self-simulation created by God.
It's a wild ride, but buckle up because we're just getting started.
All right, let's do it. So where do we go from here?
Well, Langan doesn't just stop at these mind-bending ideas about reality and God.
Right, he goes on to apply these concepts to the world around us.
Exactly. And that's where things get, let's say, a little controversial.
Oh yeah, he definitely doesn't shy away from hot-button issues.
Not at all. And one of the things that he's most vocal about
What's that?
is what he calls the globalist agenda.
Ah, yes, that's a recurring theme in his work.
It is, and he really sees it as a threat to individual liberty.
Like a conspiracy theory kind of thing.
Well, he doesn't necessarily use that term,
Okay.
but he definitely believes that there's a small group of elites who are actively working to consolidate power and control.
And he sees this happening on a global scale.
Exactly. He even goes so far as to say that the current political system
Is broken.
is kind of shot, as he puts it.
Wow, he doesn't mince words.
Nope. And he's really critical of what he sees as a trend towards technocracy.
Technocracy meaning?
Like rule by experts, where unelected officials are making decisions that impact everyone's lives.
Okay, I see where he's going with this.
And he connects this back to his ideas about economics.
Okay, how so?
Well, he talks about this distinction between what he calls monopoly capitalism and fair capitalism.
Okay, so what's the difference?
Basically, he argues that in a fair capitalist system,
Yeah?
everyone has an equal opportunity to succeed.
Okay.
But in a monopoly capitalist system, a small group of elites control the market.
And they rig the system in their favor.
Exactly. And he sees this happening in a lot of different areas.
Like, what? Give me an example.
Well, he talks about the push for electric cars.
Okay, that's topical.
It is. And while he acknowledges the environmental concerns,
Right.
he also sees it as a way for powerful interests.
To control the market.
Exactly. Like if everyone is forced to buy electric cars,
Then the companies that produce those cars.
have a monopoly. And they can dictate prices, limit consumer choice, and so on.
It's an interesting perspective.
It is. And it makes you think about the motivations behind a lot of these seemingly well-intentioned policies.
Yeah, like who benefits from these changes?
Exactly. And are those benefits being distributed fairly?
Langan would probably say no.
Probably not.
Yeah.
And this leads to a broader discussion about the role of technology in society.
Okay, how does technology fit into all of this?
Well, Langan is very wary of what he sees as the increasing power of technology companies.
Like Google, Facebook, Amazon.
Exactly. He sees them as having an undue influence on our lives.
Through their control of information.
Right, and through their ability to shape our perceptions of the world.
Okay, I can see that.
And this ties back to his concerns about the globalist agenda.
Right, because these tech companies
Have a global reach.
Right.
They operate across borders, beyond the control of any one nation.
and that gives them a lot of power.
It does. And Langan worries that this power is being used to undermine individual liberty and national sovereignty.
Wow, that's a pretty heavy accusation.
It is, and it's one that he makes repeatedly throughout his work.
So is he saying that we should just abandon technology altogether?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
But he's definitely urging us to be more critical of how we use technology and to be aware of its potential downsides.
Like the potential for surveillance?
Exactly. And the potential for manipulation.
Right, because these algorithms
Can be used to target us with specific information, to influence our opinions, our behaviors, even our emotions.
It's kind of scary when you think about it.
It is, and it's something that we need to be more aware of.
So what's the solution?
Well, Langan doesn't offer any easy answers. But he does stress the importance of individual responsibility.
Meaning what?
Like, we need to be more discerning consumers of information.
We can't just blindly accept everything we read online.
Exactly. We need to be critical thinkers, to question the narratives that we're being presented with.
And to do our own research.
Exactly. And he also talks about the importance of community.
Like connecting with people who share our values.
Right. And building networks of support.
Because we can't fight this battle alone.
Exactly. It's going to take a collective effort to push back against these forces that he sees as threatening threatening our freedom.
It sounds like he's calling for a revolution of sorts.
Maybe not a violent revolution,
Yeah.
but definitely a revolution in consciousness.
Like a shift in how we think about the world.
Exactly. And how we engage with the systems that govern our lives.
It's a tall order.
It is. But Langan seems to believe that it's possible.
And that it's necessary if we want to preserve our freedom and create a better future.
Exactly. And that's a message that I think is worth considering, even if you don't agree with everything he says.
Yeah, it definitely makes you think.
And that's the goal,
To
right?
get people thinking.
Yeah.
To challenge the status quo.
And to imagine a world where things could be different.
All right, I'm on board.
Good. Because we're about to go even deeper down the rabbit hole.
Oh boy, what's next?
Well, Langan doesn't just talk about the political and economic implications of his ideas.
Okay.
He also explores the spiritual and metaphysical dimensions.
Ooh. This is where it gets really interesting.
It does, and he makes some pretty bold claims about the nature of reality.
Like what?
Well, remember how we talked about the globalist agenda
Yeah.
and how Langan sees it as a threat to individual liberty?
Right.
Well, he believes that this agenda is being influenced by forces that are beyond our immediate understanding.
What kind of forces?
He talks about extraterrestrial intelligence,
Aliens.
aliens, and he also talks about demonic entities.
Whoa, hold on. Are we talking about actual demons here?
Yeah. That's what he seems to be suggesting.
Okay, this is getting a little out there, even for me.
I know, right? But it's all part of his broader worldview.
So how does he connect these dots? Like, how do aliens and demons fit into the globalist agenda?
Well, he believes that these entities
Hmm.
are manipulating those in power.
Like, they're pulling the strings behind the scenes.
Exactly. And he sees this manipulation happening on multiple levels.
Like what?
Well, he talks about the influence of the intelligence community.
The CIA, the NSA, that kind of thing.
Exactly. And he even shares an anecdote about a high-ranking CIA official who claimed to have been abducted by aliens.
Wait, seriously?
That's what he says in the interview.
Wow, okay, I need to hear more about this.
We'll definitely have to dive into that story in more detail.
Please do.
But the point is that Langan believes that there's a whole other level of reality operating behind the scenes.
A reality that most of us are completely unaware of.
Exactly. And he sees this hidden reality as having a profound impact on our world.
So it's like a cosmic battle between good and evil.
Kind of, yeah. But it's not as simple as that.
Okay.
Because Langan also emphasizes the importance of individual choice.
Right. Free will.
Exactly. He believes that we have the power to choose which side we align with.
To choose between good and evil.
Exactly. And he sees this choice as having eternal consequences.
Wow. That's a lot of responsibility.
It is, but it's also empowering in a way.
How so?
Because it means that we're not just passive victims of these unseen forces.
You have agency.
Exactly. We have the power to shape our own destiny.
Even in the face of these cosmic challenges.
Exactly. And that's a message that I think is both inspiring and challenging.
I agree. It definitely gives you a lot to think about.
And that's what we're here for, right?
To explore these big questions, to push the boundaries of our understanding.
And to maybe even have our minds blown a little bit along the way.
I'm definitely feeling that brain stretch right now.
Me too.
Yeah,
But that's a good sign, right?
I hope so.
It means we're learning, we're growing.
And we're expanding our consciousness.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe we'll even uncover some hidden truths along the way.
All right, so we've talked about God, we've talked about globalism, aliens, demons.
I know, right? It's a lot to process.
It is. But it all ties together in Langan's worldview.
Yeah, he sees these different pieces.
That's part of a larger puzzle.
Exactly. And one of the things that I find really fascinating about his approach
That's that?
is that he's not afraid to challenge conventional thinking.
Oh yeah, he definitely goes against the grain.
He does. Like, how many people are seriously talking about both extraterrestrial intelligence
And demonic forces.
right in the same breath?
It's not exactly mainstream conversation.
Not at all. But that's what makes Langan so intriguing.
He's willing to go places that most people wouldn't even consider.
Exactly. And even if you don't agree with everything he says,
He forces you to think outside the box.
he does. He challenges your assumptions about the nature of reality.
And our place in the universe.
Exactly. Like, remember that story he told about a high-ranking CIA official?
The one who claimed to have been abducted by aliens.
Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty wild claim.
It is, but it makes you wonder if there's more going on behind the scenes than we realize.
All right, like, what if there's a whole other level of reality operating in the shadows?
And what if those in power are being influenced by forces that we don't fully understand?
It's a tantalizing possibility.
It is, and it ties back to Langan's concerns about the globalist agenda.
Right, because if these unseen forces are real...
Then who's really in control?
Exactly. Are our leaders truly acting in our best interests?
Or are they being manipulated by some hidden agenda?
It's a question that's worth asking.
It is, and it's one that Langan doesn't shy away from.
Not at all. But I think his point is less about uncovering some grand conspiracy.
And more about encouraging us to think critically.
Exactly. He wants us to question the narratives that we're being presented with.
By the media, by authority figures.
By anyone, really. He wants us to develop what he calls intellectual independence.
The ability to think for ourselves.
And to arrive at our own conclusions.
Based on reason and evidence.
Exactly. And this ties back to his earlier discussion about the importance of truth and beauty.
Ah, yes, those timeless values.
Right. Langan believes that we've lost sight of objective standards for both truth and beauty.
And that this has led to a decline in our culture.
And a weakening of our moral compass.
He's a pretty harsh critic of modern art.
He is. He uses the example of the Piss Christ artwork.
Oh, I remember that one.
Yeah, it's pretty controversial.
To say the least.
And Langan sees it as representative of a broader trend in art.
A trend that rejects any notion of objective beauty.
Exactly. And he worries that this trend reflects a deeper cultural shift.
Away from the pursuit of truth.
And towards a more relativistic, even nihilistic worldview.
It's a provocative argument.
It is, and it raises some important questions about how we define art.
And beauty.
And the values that shape our society.
Right, like, is beauty truly in the eye of the beholder?
Or are there objective standards that we can use to judge art and its impact on our culture?
Langan clearly believes in objective standards.
He does. And he connects this back to his belief in God as the ultimate source of truth and beauty.
So for him, it all comes back to God.
In a way, yes. He sees an inherent order and design to the universe.
A reflection of God's creative intelligence.
Exactly. And he believes that true beauty aligns with that order.
It's like a cosmic harmony.
Yeah. And this brings us back to his concept of a teleological economy.
Remind me what that is again.
It's the idea that our actions have a deeper significance.
Beyond just material gain.
Right. It's like he's saying that we're all part of something larger than ourselves.
And that our choices have consequences that ripple outward.
Exactly. Impacting the world around us in ways that we might not even be able to fully comprehend.
It's a pretty profound idea.
It is. And it suggests that we have a responsibility to act in accordance with those deeper truths.
To align ourselves with the good, the true, and the beautiful.
Even when it's difficult or unpopular.
Because ultimately our choices matter.
They do. And Langan even suggests that by striving to live in this way,
by seeking truth and beauty, by aligning ourselves with a higher purpose,
we can actually enhance our own intelligence.
And our capacity for understanding.
It's like he's saying that true intelligence isn't just about accumulating knowledge.
Or solving problems.
It's about cultivating a certain way of being in the world.
A way of seeing and interacting with reality.
That is in harmony with its deeper truths.
It's a powerful message.
It is, and it's one that I think is worth taking to heart.
I agree.
So there you have it, folks, our deep dive into the mind of Chris Langan.
It's been a wild ride.
It has. But I hope you found it as thought-provoking as we did.
I know, I learned a lot.
Me too. And remember, even if you don't agree with everything Langan says,
he challenges us to think differently.
To question our assumptions.
And to explore the world with an open mind.
And that's always a good thing.
It is. So until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.
And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to our channel and leave us a comment below.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on Chris Langan and his ideas.
Thanks for joining us.